Sue?
Mike!
Sue?
Mike, where are you?
Ah! The horror! Hi, everybody.
Hey there.
Welcome back to The Horror.
Woo!
My name is Michael O'Rourke,
My name is Sue Slachter.
and in this episode, we'll be reviewing The Ritual.
Oh. The Ritual, a Netflix original film that was released in 2017. It's about a group of college friends who reunite for a hiking trip in Sweden so that they can honor a member of their group who was tragically killed 6 months prior. They become lost in the forest during their trek and stumble upon mysterious symbols and freaky, torn-up animal carcasses. Worse yet, they're plagued by nightmares that depict the most terrifying moments of their lives. Will the friends discover who or what haunts them in the woods? Will they be able to find their way out in one piece? Dun dun dun.
Generally, I have mixed feelings about this film as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Starting with the story. So overall, this film is about a guy who's overcoming his cowardice when he doesn't stop a robbery at a convenience store and allows his friend to get killed. The kind of guilt and shame he feels about that and the judgments he gets from his other friends. I liked that the movie was actually like about something deeper like that than just like a monster attacking or a serial killer or anything. I think what falls apart in the story is how it just focuses on him. And it doesn't really show how the other three friends are affected by it too much. So they end up just kind of bickering a lot in the woods. And they spend a long time in the woods just bickering and arguing and being passive aggressive with each other.
We're sure this is a good idea?
What's up? You scared of the woods?
It kind of got to a point where I was kind of irritated with all of these people. Which is a shame because I did like the theme of it and where it was going, but I wish it had been executed a little bit better.
Interesting. I actually feel pretty different in this case. I really like this movie. There are certain elements of it that we've seen before. A group of friends getting lost in the wilderness and there's something scary after them that maybe you don't know exactly what. I really enjoyed, like you said, that it was about this more deeper emotional struggle that the main character is having. I didn't really mind that there wasn't as deep of kind of background on the other characters because I felt like there was still a really strong sense of character development from each of them throughout the story. It's indicated pretty early on sort of who in the group are the leaders, the level-headed one, the annoying, whiny one.
Yeah, for twats in the forest.
So I feel like they did a really good job with not wasting any time as far as trying to get the story going with some kind of funny comedic dialogue between the friends at first and then getting into some real shit with the murder of one of their friends.
See, I felt like there was no evolution of the characters. They show them before where they're hanging out as a group of friends. Mm-hmm. They're bickering with each other. And then the one friend dies, and then they go to the woods. They're bickering with each other. It didn't feel like there was any progression of, oh, this is how they were before, and now this is how they are after. I kind of felt like they were just exactly the same.
To me, what I thought was interesting about it was that the main character, Luke, played by Rafe Spall, which, really quick, just gotta say, love Rafe Spall. Oh, man. Really, really enjoy this actor. The first thing that I ever saw him in was Shaun of the Dead, when he played a 17-year-old Noel.
You got red on you.
What I really liked about his character, he does struggle throughout the film with what happened to his friend and how he didn't respond when his friend was murdered right in front of him. It's a difficult thing to say that it was his cowardice necessarily in that moment that prevented him from stepping in to do something to save his friend, because would he have been killed in the process of trying to save his friend? We don't know that he actually could have done anything to prevent his friend's death.
And I think it's not so much about whether he could have done something. It's the fact that when the robbers came in, he ran and hid and didn't even try to offer any help or do anything. I think it's not so much about whether he could have actually helped, but if he had stepped in sooner, there's a good chance he could have saved his friend.
The thing about it that I think is really pertinent, the other friends really blame him for their friend Robert's death because you're the one that wanted to go get vodka. You know, you're the one that made this situation happen.
Well, I think Luke also blames himself. So whenever his friends do point out, it's like, well, maybe if you had done something, he really takes it serious.
Yeah.
And really takes it like as a deep insult. And I have to say, this group of 4 friends, they're really good at having something happen to them and then trying to move on without really dealing with it. When they go to the cabin and they spend the night there and all that weird, freaky stuff happens, and then they just leave and then they just try to pretend like, hey, it was just nightmares. Nothing weird happened. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not fine.
So we're going to talk about it then or not?
I'd rather not, mate.
I really enjoyed the acting overall in this movie. I felt like it was believable that they were old college friends because it seemed like they had that kind of interaction where, yeah, they're bickering with each other. Maybe they're not as close as they once were. Outside of Rafe Spall's performance, I also particularly enjoyed Robert James-Collier's performance as Hutch. You might have also seen him in Downton Abbey as Thomas, and he always seems to play these characters that are like kind of jerky, not necessarily the nicest guy in the room, but at the same time, you do see at a certain point in the movie that he does still have a soft spot for his friends, even though he's always kind of putting on this front of like being sort of this tough bloke kind of thing going on.
We need to be... Where you going? We need to be working together, man.
I wanted to like Hutch, but I don't really know anything about this guy. Like, really. He's kind of the leader of the group without anyone actually saying it, but I just didn't get to know anything about him, really.
Why don't you go and give yourself a fucking prostate exam and leave me in peace?
Sam Troughton's performance as Dom really cracked me up. I really enjoyed him, that he was just sort of like the whiny, maybe downtrodden friend that it doesn't seem like is really respected that much by the rest of the group. And so, of course, he's also the one who becomes injured on their hike in Sweden, in the middle of nowhere. Instead of really having a lot of sympathy and compassion for him, the other friends kind of act like, not this again.
He definitely does a good job of making you just want to punch him in the face.
Yes. Again, I felt like all the actors did a really great job building their characters quickly. It's not a character piece.
It's a character piece for the main character, but it's not a character piece for any of the other friends. It's not evenly balanced across the 4 friends and how they dealt with the incident. It's really just about Luke.
So back to the cabin. Holy crap. This is one of the creepiest cabins that I've ever seen in any horror movie ever, and I really loved it. It's dark, and it's stormy, and it's creepy, but hey look, there's a cabin and it's totally gonna be okay. No, it isn't. There is the freakiest effigy in this cabin, and it sort of looks like you've got horns on a human torso, but then it has like chicken feet or something.
That's witchcraft. Huh?
That was when I knew, I think I like this movie.
Just their reactions when they wake up in the morning and they're just having those nightmares. You just see them like writhing around.
When you see Arsher Ali as Phil actually kneeling to the effigy naked and praying to it, it doesn't even matter to me that you don't know exactly what the nightmares were that all of the characters had. You just know about the nightmare of the main character. Mm-hmm. He is having a recurring nightmare seeing his friend die over and over and over, being in the convenience store.
The way they shot it, I really liked how they set it up.
Me too.
Where it's kind of a blend of the woods mixed in with the convenience store.
Yeah.
And so you'll see like the lights kind of flicker on, but you see like the woods going into the convenience store. Like, so they're partially standing on like moss and stuff.
Yeah, you see like the wooded floor of the forest.
And I have to say, I haven't really seen dreams or nightmares set up like that before.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty creative.
I liked that a lot. I thought that it looked really crisp and sharp being in the convenience store, but also you have all of the overgrown aspect of the forest thrown into that. It was really cool visually.
I think the creature was kind of reaching into their minds a little bit and seeing what their deepest fears are. Or basically who they are inside. So I think that's partly why the convenience store was blended into the woods, because it wasn't just his memory of what happened, but also the creature kind of making that happen and blending its own experiences with that.
Something about that I think is really interesting is that after the first night in the freaky cabin, Luke has these, I think, 4 bloody marks on his chest right in the middle. And it's not exactly ever explained precisely how that gets there. But we do find out later that that means he's been marked by the beast. It seems to indicate that if you have this mark, you're going to be able to achieve immortality. if you're willing to bend the knee.
And why would I do that?
But if you don't have this mark, then you're going to get sacrificed. The witch later on in the film says that if you have hit a certain amount of suffering in your life, like if you're really, really suffering, that the beast is able to see that within you, and that's how you're marked for immortality as long as you join the cult. So we don't know exactly what the greatest nightmares, the worst parts of the other friends' lives are. You know, we don't know what it is that they see in their nightmares. Dom actually does say that at a point he sees his wife. She's calling to him. Outside of what is shown to him at a certain point in the film, we don't know exactly what that is. Unless he's seeing a vision of the future, I have no idea what it is about his wife that freaked him out so much.
A lot of the shots in the woods, they really use this flat look where you get a lot of trees in the shot, and it looks really compressed to where it's almost like trees are just like overwhelming the frame. Mm-hmm. And then you just see the characters like walking in between the trees, but you just see like glimpses of them. Same when you first get a glimpse of the creature, where it's just like a shot where you just have all these trees and then you just see this little hand. That's the only glimpse you get for a little bit. I like the way that they showed their loneliness and isolation.
Yeah.
And there's one really great shot where you see the four of them walking, and then the camera just tilts up into this like foggy woods. They're just walking into nothing. You don't know where they're going. So I enjoy like little moments like that throughout the movie that I felt were shot really well. The creature design too. It's one of the most original creature designs I've seen in a movie.
It's freaky deaky. I really dig it. Yeah.
It looks like it's almost part human in the front, sort of, but then it's kind of like on an elk's body.
Yeah.
That's gigantic.
Part elk, part human, part tree?
Yeah,
Maybe?
tree.
Who knows?
And I really like that they went all out and just made it look really weird. They mention at one point it's a god. It really does kind of conjure the image of like an ancient god, like what they would look like a god of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wants them to bow.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely wants, to have his cult be very subservient to him, bow down to him, or else you're not getting any immortality.
Although I don't know if I'd want immortality in that cult.
There's something else about that I thought was really cool in the movie. I really like how they do it, but I wouldn't want it myself. At one point, you see Luke enter this room, and he's seeing what appears to be all of these skeletons around him and mummified bodies. And that's when you realize, oh shit, you don't mean immortality like looking all the way that I do now. Like, I'm gonna decompose, and I'm gonna lose my flesh and my eyeballs and stuff like that. And I'm gonna be alive, and I'm gonna be stuffed into this room with all of these other decomposing, rotting, eventually just skeleton people, but I'll still be alive. It's so freaky, and it looks so cool. They do a really good job with the effects in that.
When he decides to burn him to death, and the creature really freaks out as soon as that happens. Like, you can tell the creature senses that, and it's like, hey, don't kill my immortal mummified people.
Not my immortal mummified people, no! Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that it was cool. I didn't mind that there wasn't as much character development for the friends, because I just felt like I got enough understanding of them through their interactions with each other. I thought that integrating these, more modern people with an ancient god in Sweden and a cult in the middle of nowhere was really neat. And it gave me the creeps. So I'm happy with that.
I liked a lot of the ideas in the movie. I wish we had spent a little less time wandering around in the woods and maybe getting to the village a little bit quicker and exploring that aspect more. Especially with how little they developed the friends. It seemed like a strangely long amount of time to spend in the woods with them.
Suspense.
But I still liked a lot of the ideas in the movie. I liked the creature at the end, and the ideas with the village and their cult and how they worship this creature.
Yeah.
So I liked aspects of it. I didn't like other aspects, but
Can't always be in 100% agreement.
not always.
Well, thanks for tuning in with us today, everybody. Caw-caw!